I'm really thrilled here to have our next speaker, Mr. Lars Bredal, who's from the European, essentially the Deputy Ambassador of EU Delegation here in Sri Lanka. I really paused here a moment before talking about whether to talk about EU first or just the role of Europe in passing on the entire ideas of LGBTQI rights, and to an extent also been an excellent supporter and ally for South Asia in this entire struggle for LGBTQI rights in South Asia. Hence, your participation and presence here is not just important, but it's also really, really good to have a friend for South Asia, especially for the queer rights, to be with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and may I please request you to join us here on the stage to deliver your keynote address, please. We have Mr. Lars Bredal. Stage is all yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruhan. Good morning, everybody. And it's really a pleasure to be here, to see all of you, for such a fine group of people from South Asia, from the different countries here, and from the queer community, from the diplomatic community, and also participants from Europe and New Zealand. And I'm also so happy to meet today a colleague from the Embassy of Ukraine. And I want to take this opportunity to express to you, sir, the deepest sympathy and solidarity with the people of Ukraine. And I want to give a very big thanks to you, Carsten, and to all the colleagues from Friedrich Naumann Foundation for preparing this event in this Pride Month. At the EU delegation, we had our weekly meeting on public diplomacy and communication, and we were talking about, can we not do more in this Pride Month? And after that meeting, I came to my computer, and there was a mail from Carsten inviting us to participate in this. And we are so impressed about this hackathon and what you have been doing here. Then I will turn to European Union. We are 27 countries, and we say that our motto is that we are united in diversity. So 27 countries with lots of different languages and cultures. For example, I'm from a small country called Denmark, and in our culture, it is a sign of respect when we use the first name of people. So I allow myself to say, dear Carsten, thank you for inviting us, while often in the German culture, the sign of respect would be to say the surname and say doctor. So how do these cultures interact together, where the sign of respect you want to show is also understood? One thing that is uniting those 27 countries in the European Union is our DNA. It's our shared values that goes across languages and other cultural differences. And this is sort of like the ticket to be part of European Union. You must show that your nation is respecting equality and non-discrimination. These are part of our core values, as emphasized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They are embedded in the European Treaty and the European Charter of Fundamental Rights. By saying that we share those values, I also want to stress that we do not say that we are perfect. We are striving to comply with those values in our internal policies and in our external policies. And we realize that we are not perfect. So when we work with you, whether it is South Asia or Sri Lanka, we are not talking from the high horse. We talk from the experiences and also the weaknesses we have ourselves. For example, in 2019, a survey was made in the 27 countries of the European Union, and it found about the people who identify as LGBTIQ, 43% felt that they were being discriminated. So how can that be in a union that is based on unity and equality? We must act on these values and make them a reality. We are doing that under the hashtag that is called Spread Love, Not Hate. Therefore, in 2020, the EU adopted its first ever LGBTIQ equality strategy. It addresses the inequalities and challenges affecting LGBTIQ people in order to move towards a union of equality. This strategy follows calls for action by member states, the European Parliament, with strong support from the Intergroup for LGBTQI rights of the Parliament and civil society. It sets out a series of targeted actions across 4 pillars. 1, tackling discrimination against LGBTIQ people. 2, ensuring LGBTIQ people's safety. 3, building LGBTIQ inclusive societies. And the 4th pillar is leading the call for LGBTIQ equality around the world. These targeted actions will be combined with attention to specific LGBTIQ concerns in enhanced equality, mainstreaming into all EU policies, legislation, and funding programs. I want to quote the first words of this strategy. Those words were spoken by the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, in her State of the Union speech in 2020, the year the strategy was adopted. It says, "We will not rest when it comes to building a union of equality, a union where you can be who you are and love who you want, without fear of recrimination or discrimination. Because being yourself is not ideology, it is your identity, and no one can ever take it away." This strategy, in line with the EU's motto, United in Diversity, emphasizes that all are free and all are equal. The LGBTIQ equality strategy sets out a series of measures to step up EU's non-discrimination action, to mainstream LGBTIQ equality into all EU policies, legislation, and funding programs, and to amplify the voices of LGBTIQ people, both within and outside the EU's borders. These efforts are part of the EU public diplomacy and external cooperation efforts. We engage through political dialogue, awareness raising, activities, and supporting LGBTIQ rights defenders in their work. We support civil society organizations in their endeavors to strengthen the protection of LGBTIQ persons, address impunity, violence, and stigma experienced. And we advocate for anti-discrimination laws. As EU, we work to protect and promote human rights so that all individuals around the world, whether inside or outside the EU, and regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, and sex characteristics, are treated equally with dignity and respect. I quoted before the figure of 43% who felt discrimination in the European Union in 2019. The strategy adopted in 2020 to address this, and the words of Ursula von der Leyen. I wish to end my little speech by quoting another person that I admire very much. It is a former president of Uruguay, Pepe Mujica. Pepe Mujica was imprisoned in 14 years during the 70s and 80s, during the military dictatorship in Uruguay. He was tortured in those 14 years. Later, From 2010 to 2015, he became the president of that country. And in 2020, at old age and sick, he decided to resign from the Senate. All the time he had lived a very humble life, also when he was president. He did not want to take advantage, but showed the solidarity with his people. In his farewell address in the Senate, he said these words: "I have had my good amounts of flaws. I am passionate. But in my garden, I haven't cultivated hatred in decades. Because I learned a hard lesson that life gave me, that hatred ends up stupid. Because it makes us lose objectivity in the face of things. Hate is blind as love, but love is creative, and hate destroys us." I'm sure you will get a very creative day. I wish you all the best.